Greetings and welcome back to Doctor Who Revisited, where I go through every single episode of Doctor Who from 1963 all the way to 2022 and review them. And this is a big one. This one is pretty massive and has a very big significance to me personally. It's the Faceless ones. So much to unpack with this episode. First of all, co-written by two writers whose ideas have been repeatedly rejected by the BBC for Doctor Who stories. Two writers by the name of David Ellis and Malcolm Hulke. And yes, Malcolm Hulke, a proficient Doctor Who writer, the creator of so many iconic Doctor Who monsters. I can sit here all day talk about the wealth of contributions that this man has brought to us, and this is his debut episode as a writer. Obviously not his first episode that he's written for the show, but first one that actually does get into production, or rather gets to be broadcast, because obviously he also did another episode called The Big Store, which had begun extensive production work and then obviously was scrapped in favor of the Faceless ones, which in a way they kind of just took the main setting from a department store into an airport, which, in my opinion, works so much better because it just adds that grand scope of things. First of all, the episode itself starts in the runway area section of the episode. The TARDIS just lands there in the middle of this busy British airport, and the Doctor and friends just have to keep running away from incoming planes. Like, that's how you start an episode, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you start a great Doctor Who episode. Just have the characters immediately put in danger, running away from giant planes. And I love, again, going back into Jamie's translating these futuristic concepts into stuff that he can understand. Jamie just looks at a giant incoming plane and goes, "It's a flying beastie!" I love Jamie so much. And this is another great way to separate the characters and have all of them sort of take on their own individual storylines within this big, massive 6-part serial. And that is obviously how Ben and Polly get introduced to Chameleon Airlines, the main villains of the episode. That is how they are introduced to the Chameleons, if you can call them. I mean, I think they were never actually specifically given the official name, the Chameleons. It was never really specified in the episode itself. It was more just that is the nickname that was given to these creatures because they're part of Chameleon Airlines. Could be mistaken about that, but either way, great way to introduce the villains and have them shoot a random person in front of Polly, and Polly has to then find the Doctor and Jamie and tell them about the whole story. Now, here's where I get to the negatives of the episode. It's another missing episode. And with that, a lot of the transformation of the chameleons into other people is missing. I think I might have to rewatch the episode again to be sure about this, but I'm pretty sure that every scene where you see one of the chameleons transform into one of the humans, all of that is missing. Thankfully, just like with the previous story, the Macra Terror, there is an animated reconstruction of the episode that is widely available. I think, don't quote me on that, I think it's on BritBox. I might have seen it there, I might have seen it some other place, but again, just, don't quote me on that. But just like with the Macra Terror, the animated reconstruction of the Faceless ones really adds a lot. Again, with the wonders of animation, they could do the things that I don't think the production team could have done with visual effects in the 60s. That is really the beauty of these animated reconstructions, and I hope we get more of these in the near future. Again, going back to the Chameleons, they really were a threat. They were a threat that really deserves a 6-part serial, as opposed to the Macra, which only got a 4-part serial. Like the Macra, big and imposing though they were, they weren't that much of an intellectual threat to the Doctor. But the chameleons, they kept one-upping the Doctor in any given moment, and obviously the Doctor did get the upper hand several times. There's that wonderful moment with where they trick the Doctor into coming into that room, and they lock the door behind him, and they sort of start to pump the room with poisonous gas to try and incapacitate him, and he pretends he faints dead, which may eventually can be worked into what was introduced, I believe, in the John Pertwee era, where Time Lords can just stop their hearts or stop breathing to pretend to be dead for a couple of minutes. Maybe one day maybe that's sort of a connection there. But either way, going back to the scene itself, he faints dead until one of the chameleons shows up and then just uses his own weapon against him. Like that freezing pen that just immobilizes people. Great weapon, by the way. And I love that for the majority of the first couple of episodes, the guy who's in charge of the episode doesn't believe the Doctor and Jamie, but someone else does, and he does manage to find other ways of convincing other people until eventually, over time, he gets everyone on his side, and eventually he starts working in tandem with the people in charge of the airport, and that is really the way that the Doctor operates, how he convinces people to join his side. I love the character played by Pauline Collins, I believe the name of the character was. Fun fact, she was originally supposed to join the Doctor as a companion, as a replacement for Ben and Polly, which of course this is their final episode of the show, and they asked Pauline Collins if she would be willing to stay as a frequent companion and a sort of a love interest to Jamie, which obviously they do have a lot of intimate romantic moments all throughout the episode. Obviously, there's that scene where he pretends to kiss her just so he can take her credit card and take the flight on Chameleon Airlines to find out what's happening. So I wouldn't want to say that he's taking advantage of her, but he kind of is. Yeah, it's a bit of a tough moment to talk about. But anyways, like I said, she was offered to stick around as a full-time companion. She was offered to stay and join the main cast, and she declined. Which is obviously that's how we got Victoria Waterfield in the next episode as a permanent companion, at least for a little while. But don't worry about Pauline Collins. She does well. She eventually comes back as Queen Victoria in the David Tennant era. But more on that once I eventually get to that episode in a couple of years from now. So I want to see where they take the manager of the airport, or was it the detective? I can't remember at the moment, but they just sit him down in front of a screen and show him that all the passengers just disappear and get shrunk down, and that's how the chameleons are transferring them to their spaceship. And first of all, just the idea of a plane mid-flight changing its trajectory upwards and then just flies straight up into space where other aircrafts can't find it. How cool is that? Like, again, it's another in a missing episode. I think that wasn't a missing episode, was it? I don't know. I don't remember. But just the idea, the concept of that's how the chameleons are being able to travel from Earth to their space station or spaceship. I'm not sure which is which, but and with in a way that the humans can't detect them. That's great. And I love that right at the very end, the Doctor doesn't just stop them. He just makes a deal with them where he helps them find new bodies for themselves, and then finds them a new home. Now, the exact reasoning for why they lost their bodies, I think it's referenced in the episode itself. I don't think it's mentioned, or rather, I don't think it's explained fully. I wouldn't be surprised if one day they were going to, or actually, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already done it, and I just haven't caught up to that point, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if one day they'll find a way to explain that, nope, it happened because of the Time War. Who knows? Maybe the Time War was the reason why they lost their bodies. Only Time War will tell. But yeah, I love that this is one of the rare instances where the Doctor offers a villainous species an ultimatum, and they actually take it, as opposed to refusing, and then the Doctor has to do what the Doctor does, which is stop them. I like that. That is a rarity among Doctor Who villains. But I guess that's where the brilliance of one Mr. Malcolm Hulke comes into play. David Ellis, I'm not sure that he's ever written anything else for Doctor Who that actually got made into an episode, aside from the Faceless ones. But either way, it introduces us to Malcolm Hulke, which, I can't really say anything bad about that. That's it. There's also, if you can find it, there is a great interview with Annika Wills, who played Polly in the episode, where she does reveal a lot of interesting secrets about this episode in specifically. I highly recommend trying to find that one if you can. But obviously, got to talk about the elephant that is currently leaving the room. Ben and Polly's departure. For whatever reason, some of the higher ups at the BBC just decided that Ben and Polly weren't working as companions, and they decided to write them out of the show. Now, I will say this, the way that they did it was pretty neat, in having the TARDIS accidentally land on the exact time and date that they left, somehow, and they can just go about their business and go back to their lives the way that they used to live their lives before they met the Doctor. Obviously with the advantage of meeting the Doctor and having their lives changed as a result. But as far as a writing thing, that was pretty neat. That's pretty convenient. It doesn't really happen very often in Doctor Who. Personally, I don't think they should have left. I love them as companions, and I felt like, for the most part, especially in this episode in particular, both of those companions were used to great effect. And again, I brought up I can go back and bring up the examples of the 10th Planet / the Moon Base, as opposed to something like, say, the Macra Terror, where, the differences between how these two characters were used and how they made each of these two characters stand out as individual companions. Yeah, a lot of episodes didn't really use those two characters to the best of their abilities, to the actors' talents, but some episodes did, and this episode is a great example of that, and I wish we got more episodes with them. Obviously, Annika Wills is still alive and with us, and still does Doctor Who-related stuff still to this day on Big Finish. Unfortunately, Michael Craze, who played Ben, passed away before Big Finish really became what it is today, and unfortunately we are not able to get more stories with both Ben and Polly played by the original actors in the audio world of Big Finish. Of course, Ben and Polly did get recast in An Adventure in Space and Time by Lily Travers, who plays Polly, and I apologize, I do not remember the name of the actor who played Ben in that one, but obviously they then returned in Peter Capaldi's final episode, Twice Upon a Time, as sort of a flashback scene with David Bradley's first Doctor from the 10th Planet. But I think they did an okay job with that. But, I would love to see more episodes taking place in the first Doctor's era with David Bradley as the Doctor, but with those two actors as the companions. That is something that can happen now. That is something that can be done with the Disney acquisition of Doctor Who and Russell T Davies planning to expand the universe of Doctor Who with multiple spin-offs. That is something that can happen, not just on audio. So, that is really my thoughts on the whole matter. Really love the episode. Great final episode for companions. Not the best departure for companions, but a great way to have these two characters go out on a high note. And sadly, not many companions get to do that. So yeah, that's it. This is my review of the Faceless Ones. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one, which will be the final episode of Patrick Troughton's debut season, and that final episode will be The Evil of the Daleks, not to be confused with his debut episode, The Power of the Daleks. So until the next time, everybody, goodbye. Hi there! Thank you for watching the video, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. I'll see you next time.